Good morning. My name is Suzanne Broadbent, and I'm the worship associate today. Here at First Unitarian, we think inclusiveness is a good thing, and to that end, we share our pronouns and a little description of ourselves so that all may feel included. And so my pronouns are she, her. I'm a 76-year-old white woman with dyed hair. Everyone would know it's not really this color, it's really gray. And today I am wearing a red jacket and a red and a black scarf and a black top. So enough about me. So I want to welcome everyone. Our mission here at First Unitarian is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. We come here to practice loving our neighbors and loving our whole selves. This hour is an opportunity to reflect and open ourselves to experience and encounter the sacred. I want to thank our team of volunteers and staff who make Sunday mornings possible. There is a lot that goes into these services, and it's much appreciated. So I want to welcome our online participants who are with us on YouTube. We would like for you to introduce yourselves in the chat. If you're in Oklahoma City, what neighborhood, what part of the city you're in, and if you're outside Oklahoma City, what town you're joining us from. So we also have some housekeeping. We strive to make First Unitarian as safe as possible. So please note the closest exit to where you are sitting today. And in the event of a fire, we will exit the building and gather on the north lawn just past the sidewalks. Please don't drive away or leave until we have the opportunity to collect your name and know that everyone is safe. If you have children in our RE program, do not go to retrieve them. They will be brought by their teachers to the gathering spot. In the very unlikely event that someone enacts violence, remember, run, hide, fight. And finally, in the event of a medical emergency, there is an AED located in the main corridor near the church office. This would be a good time to silence your mobile phone or any other device that you might have that might distract us for the next hour. You will notice in the order of service that we have several ways for folks to participate here at First Unitarian. And I want to call your attention to two very important ones this week. First Unitarian Church will be in the MLK Day Parade tomorrow, and everyone who wishes to march with us is invited. You have two options for joining the group. One is to go to our lineup spot, which is at 6th Street west of Dewey on the south side of the street, and you can look for Larry's little red pickup truck, and you'll know you're in the right space. The other option is to meet here at the church at 1 to carpool down to the pickup site. It'll be cold. Don't have to tell you that, so bundle up. And Mary Lee will be here with her white minivan to carpool to take the group. So we hope you can make that event. And the other event that is important this week that I want to call to your attention is family game night and potluck Friday night. Starts at 6 p.m. and you can contact Jessica Lothrop for details. Our chalice this morning is lit by Hannah Gordon Wilburn, and with these words: "We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together." And now, let's take a moment to welcome each other. If you'll turn to folks that are seated next to you or close to you and make sure everyone feels welcome, we'd appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you for helping create a warm, welcoming environment for our community. We hope after the service you will join us in Daniel Hall through these doors to the right here to continue your conversation and perhaps to make some new friends in the social hall. And now, if you will share together our covenant. It's in your order of service, and please join me as we read it. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Kent. I'm a tallish, middle-aged white man wearing a black clergy robe and a purple stole with an embroidered chalice on it. I use he, him pronouns. It is a wonder and a mystery that our paths have crossed, that in the immensity of time, in the vastness of space, we meet together here. I'm amazed at the ways our lives intersect and intertwine, and at the beauty we've created here together. May our coming together make us more compassionate, more just, more caring, and more loving. May our hearts and minds be opened. I am so glad that you and we are all here together to worship today. Our opening hymn this morning is number 157, Step by Step, the Longest March. We'll sing this through twice. Go ahead and rise in body or in spirit, and we'll join in singing. Again, that's 157. Our prayer this morning comes from the Reverend Joan Javier Duval. I invite you to sit back, maybe close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, and let us join in a spirit of prayer or meditation. In these times in which the ground feels shaky and our hands and feet unsteady, we turn to you. Source of strength, spirit of compassion. For we do not know what the future holds. Truly, we can never know. And we need strength in these times of uncertainty. We need the strength and the fortitude to hold on, to see clearly, to reach out in love. May we find guidance within ourselves and beyond ourselves. May we be restless for truth when truth is cast aside. May we be seekers of peace as the drumbeats of war grow louder around us. May we hear and sound the alarm for our planet as fires rage and ravage. And in all this, may love rule our hearts. May we know the source of love within us and stay grounded in that source as we grapple with the unknown, as we work toward creating a more just, peaceful, and sustainable present and future together. So may it be. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Tim Atkins. I serve as your Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration. My pronouns are he, him. I am both big and tall, wearing rainbow glasses and a purple shirt. And I want to tell you a true story today. Not a fairy tale, not a superhero story, but a real story about young people, grown-ups, and a kind of bravery that doesn't wear a cape. So as I tell it, I'm going to ask you to use your voices just a little. So let's practice something together first. When I say they showed up, I want you to say together. So let's try that. They showed up.
Together.
All right. The year was 1960. In Atlanta, Georgia, where I fell in love with Unitarian Universalism, there was a Unitarian Universalist congregation called the United Liberal Church. Today we know it as the UU Congregation of Atlanta. Back then, it had a different name and a very bold idea. Just down the road was Ebenezer Baptist Church. And the two churches decided something that was not normal for that time of 1960. They decided that their youth groups would meet together, integrated, black youth and white youth. They showed up.
Together.
Now, the youth leader at Ebenezer Baptist Church was Coretta Scott King. Yes, that Coretta Scott King. She and the minister's wife at the United Liberal Church, Mrs. Cahill, believed something very important, that young people deserved to learn together, laugh together, worship together, and grow together. But not everyone liked that idea. Before one of the meetings at Ebenezer, something frightening happened. The Ku Klux Klan called Mrs. Cahill while the minister was away. They threatened violence. They wanted the youth group meeting to stop. Mrs. King and Mrs. Cahill talked together, and they made a brave, careful decision. They said the meeting will still happen, and parents will be told, so they can decide what's right for their children. So the parents talked. And one by one, every single family made the same choice. No one stayed home. They showed up.
Together.
So that night, the youth gathered at Ebenezer Baptist Church. And outside the building, the fathers from both churches came too. The fathers stood in a circle, a literal and metaphorical ring of protection around the church. Not with weapons, not with shouting, but with their presence. They showed up together. They were saying without speaking, "You will not face this alone." There were some men who drove by and shouted insults who might or might not have been Klan members. But that was it. The meeting happened, the youth learned together, community was built, the circle held. So here's the thing I want you to remember. Bravery doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like showing up. Sometimes it looks like standing still. Sometimes it looks like trusting each other enough to form a circle. So let's say it one last time, not about them, but about us. We show up together. May we keep being the kind of people who help the circle hold. So the UU Congregation of Atlanta produced a video clip on their church history. And we thought we would play a clip so we could hear directly from people who were there for this milestone event. We're working on the sound. First time we're trying this whole show a video thing, so expect some tech hiccups. We'll give it a little bit, and if not, we will either show it at the end of worship and we'll put it on our social media for folks to see as well.
While they met inside.
Hey. First off, let's give a hand to our tech team.
I had a pistol.
All right, we will start the clip and watch it again together. Yes.
In 1960, the youth groups of the United Liberal Church and Ebenezer Baptist Church held integrated meetings every other Sunday night.
And one time, the Ku Klux Klan, somebody called and threatened the minister's wife over the phone, said that it wasn't allowed to have black and white kids together, and that they were going to do something about it. So Coretta Scott King was in charge of the youth group, and she said, well, that they should go ahead and meet anyway. The parents were all called to say that this had happened. They'd had this phone call. But everybody showed up, and all the men, the fathers, made a ring around the church and stayed outside to protect the kids while they met inside.
Roan Beard and I walked guard outside the church. I had a pistol in my belt. I'm not proud of that, and in retrospect, I think it was probably a pretty bad mistake to do that, because something could have happened and I might have used it, and that would have been very unfortunate. But anyway, I did. And so Ron and I were just walking guard on the sidewalk outside the church. And the police had been notified about this and about the threats that we'd received. And we did have a police car occasionally come by, but not often. It was once or twice maybe they made a pass by. We did see other cars come by, and there were rough-looking characters in those cars, and it was warm. They had this windows down, and they were looking at us in menacing ways. And so Ron and I just kept walking, and we walked back and forth by the rear entrance of the church and occasionally around to the front. And no one ever yelled at us or said anything to us, but we felt we knew who these people were because they would drive by very slowly and they would stare at us, you know.
Thank you.
Church membership was rapidly growing, and its
I want to thank the UU Congregation of Atlanta for letting us use that clip. So now is the time where we sing our children and youth off to their religious exploration club time. Today, both clubs will be participating in a special activity before we focus in on art or games. We will be creating cards of support for Minneapolis area Unitarian Universalists. So a couple of years ago, when we were fighting in Oklahoma against anti-trans kids bills, 2 UU churches sent us notes of support, and one of those was the First Universalist Church of Minneapolis. Today, our church is returning the gift, and we will be creating notes of support for the Minneapolis area UU congregations. Our children and youth have been creating some in their classes, and you are invited to create some after the service in Daniel Hall. We have notes and pens for you. So now please join us in singing Go Now in Peace.
One of the duties and opportunities of the worship associate is to say a few words about the theme of the service, and these are by the month here at First Unitarian. Our theme this month is resistance. So I have prepared a few remarks. In preparing to speak these days on resistance, we are forced to work through our feelings of fear and anger and discombobulation. In doing so, my mind meandered to the ridiculous fantasy of whether I could figure out a prop that would look like my hair was on fire, as a way of symbolizing the state of our country and the planet, without, of course, hurting my hair. Someone asked a few days ago how I was, and I answered, well, I just read the New York Times opinion section. How do you think I am? The Times, with its brilliant columnists and moral clarity, can usually be counted on for several hair-on-fire op-eds, in addition to the front-page headlines. Hair on fire is generally used as a metaphor for overreacting. But sometimes the hair really is on fire. At this time, we are celebrating the 97th anniversary of the day the world was gifted with a baby who grew up to be the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a great American patriot. So in the context of our current condition, as I pondered Dr. King's legacy, his courage, and his leadership in nonviolent resistance, my focus centered on his challenge to us to live up to our ideals as Americans. Dr. King referred to the Declaration of Independence with its declaration of equality and inalienable rights, and the U.S. Constitution with its guarantees of fundamental rights as America's promissory notes. In I Have a Dream, he described what living up to our ideals and promises could look like. He left us too soon, but he left us the dream. It's up to us to keep it alive. And how do we do that? By believing in the dream, by believing we can live up to it, by resisting ideas, words, and actions that would destroy it. Our hope lies in nonviolent resistance. Violence, even on the side of the good, leads to more violence, which takes on a life of its own. Reverend King observed that our choice of how to accomplish our desired ends is not violence or nonviolence. In his words, our choice is nonviolence or non-existence. Though we, our nation and our world, are in grave danger, we are not in an existential violent struggle. The most likely way we can avoid satisfying those who would seek to make violence a fruition is to resist with all the powers of nonviolence at our disposal. And we have many. We still have freedom of speech and freedom of the press and freedom of assembly. It takes courage to exercise them, but we can. We still have some leaders who are calling out illegal, unconstitutional, and immoral actions. They need to know they have our support. And we have our powerful voice, our vote. We are in a conflagration of ideas, words, and visions for our country and our world. Perhaps our most potent nonviolent action is to offer a vision of love and peace and freedom, and even optimism and joy. Pessimism and fear play into the hands of the opposing forces of bigotry, hate, and greed. There is still much beauty in the world. There is still much kindness. There is still much honor and integrity. We must think on these things. Dr. King marshaled a powerful force around a dream and nonviolent commitment to it. We can too. We must offer the dream to our world. Blessed be. One way we can exercise resistance is how we spend our money or who we support with our money. So in this church, generosity is a spiritual practice that we embrace every Sunday when we take an offering. All the cash and designated checks are distributed directly to an external nonprofit organization doing good work in the world. This month, our offering supports the Micah Community Movement. This local organization supports those on the margins, particularly the unhoused and elderly. Motivated by God's love, they provide tangible resources and friendship to our Oklahoma City neighbors. And they welcome and empower the next generations to serve. In November 2022, Reverend Doug Forsberg, with 5 students and 8 faculty members from Southern Nazarene University, formed an urban student ministry named Micah Community Movement. In June 2025, the Micah Community Movement opened its doors as a drop-in day center for the unhoused in Northwest Oklahoma City. So as we enjoy the offertory music, our ushers will pass the offering plate in the sanctuary. Online, you can make a gift through the One You See website or send a check to First Unitarian. Write change for change on the memo line. So now, would the ushers please come forward and receive the offering?
This morning we have two readings, hoping that they complement each other, perhaps a little bit of balance. Our first reading comes from Adrienne Marie Brown. She writes, "When those with power are doing inhumane or anti-planet things, our choice to be disruptive, to be impolite, is one of the ways we wage small resistance that can become mass resistance and large-scale cultural and political transformation. We've learned this from ancestors in our lineage who helped expose and break massive systems like chattel slavery or Holocaust genocide. Small resistance historically looked like a wrench in the gears, a slowing things down, a rancid ingredient in masters' food, enslaved people teaching each others to read and write, letting a fugitive sleep in your basement, learning how to give each other reproductive care, slipping each other cannabis for medicine. Small resistance these days looks like turning people who are supporting or promoting racist, transphobic, and inhumane policies away at your door. It looks like stopping next to police cars that have pulled people over and watching or filming them until the person stopped is allowed to leave. It looks like naming isms and phobias in real time and learning together. It looks like local direct actions at the homes of Congress people who make decisions that harm humans or the planet.
Our second reading comes from an essay by Charles Eisenstein commenting on the Grapes of Wrath, which was written by John Steinbeck. Mr. Eisenstein says, "Steinbeck understood that no human being, not the man driving the tractor, nor the bank that hired him, nor the bank's local president, nor its board of directors back east, nor its shareholders and bondholders were to blame for this loss. Blame allures the victims of a system with its promise of an easy solution. It substitutes a problem that we know how to fix for one that we do not. To recognize this is the beginning of liberation from that machine. No longer directing energy at false targets, we can look to the machine itself and how to change it. And we can approach it, its servants, in the spirit of, I see you are stuck in this system, and here is a way out."
I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. A long ways. A long ways.
Would you join me for just a short moment of silent meditation? You might set back in your seat a little more deeply and let your eyes gently close if you're comfortable. For this moment, you might pay attention to your breath as it comes in and as you release it into the peaceful silence and safety of this community. Namaste. Amen. Shalom and blessed be. I think we know that any story, any good story, depends on characters moving the plot forward. Whether that's the Three Little Pigs or Jesus and the Gospels or Abraham Lincoln. When we hear a story, we tend to think of the actors and the main characters. For a long time, this has been the way that we understood history. One grand story propelled by a few major characters. It's sometimes called the great man theory. It's a 19th century idea that influential individuals have made a series of decisive impacts on the world. Their impact may come through personal charisma or intelligence or strength or political skill. The theory says that the personal actions and attributes of these great men define history. I can hear your eyes rolling now. The great man theory emerged in the 1840s, but by 1860 a competing theory mostly took its place. Herbert Spencer pointed out that these so-called great men were products of their societies. Their actions would be impossible without the right conditions. In the late 1800s, serious students of history have replaced the great man theory with a social theory. Most of us, though, are not serious students of history. We are curious people that enjoy a good story. When we look to understand history, we look to the stories of influential people who made it all happen, it appears. For the most part, history books are written by the winners. At Philbrook Art Museum in Tulsa, around the corner where I grew up, the most prominent pieces of art are medieval paintings. Art in those days, as you may know, was incredibly expensive. It was commissioned almost always by the church or by really wealthy individuals. Looking at religious art from that period, you can typically tell who the characters are by a prop that they have with them. They're recognizable by those few symbols. Sometimes an unidentifiable figure appears, though, in the paintings. Even at the birth of Jesus, you get one or two random people. Those extra people are usually the people who commissioned the painting. They had themselves painted into the scenes with the Holy Family. It was photobombing in the medieval period. As a kid, it astounded me that they would have the ego to inject themselves like that. It taught me how much power people with money had to influence art. It reminds me still that the people with money have mostly been the ones who document the history. And from that perspective, history is a story of great men, powerful people who had, by their own actions, shaped the course of our world, because that was their story. Understanding history through the lens of human relationships, though, is very different. It can be discouraging. Things feel a little less in our control. Maybe we come to realize that getting up this morning and coming here to First Unitarian Church is not completely our own choice. The circumstances of our own life propel us toward this moment. That can feel a little disempowering and scary. Or you could appreciate that your decisions are embedded in an intricate network of prior interactions with other people. Even the very small things matter. I want us to remember most today that in the intricate network of everyday human beings can change history. Too often, we've understood liberation as an individual act of courage. We turn to the heroes of movements, Dr. King, Rosa Parks, Gandhi, Susan B. Anthony, Harvey Milk, Frederick Douglass, Cesar Chavez. We forget that they emerged as products of their circumstances. They emerged from communities of brave people who chose to hope and struggle for a better world. They simply gave voice to what was stirring in the spirit. A few years ago, actually several years ago now, I went to General Assembly in New Orleans. General Assembly is our national gathering of Unitarian Universalists. Like most large conventions, there's an exhibit hall with all sorts of stuff to buy, all the t-shirts and bumper stickers and coffee mugs and stoles, actually. Among all of that, a poster caught my eye. The poster contains the mugshots of 328 freedom riders who were arrested in Jackson, Mississippi. There are no mugshots of the first riders because they never made it to Jackson. In 1961, over 400 African American and white young people played a pivotal role in the civil rights movement. Riders used nonviolent tactics to desegregate dozens of bus depots, train stations, and airports from Virginia to Texas. The riders faced firebombing of their buses, absolutely brutal beatings, and imprisonment at Mississippi's infamous state penitentiary. But still, they kept coming. They are heroes of American history. U.S. Congressman John Lewis is on that poster, but the remaining 327 names are completely unfamiliar to me. And that is what I love about this poster. It's a reminder that thousands of people were on the front lines of the civil rights movement. Each of those freedom riders had their own network of family and friends and faith community that encouraged their bravery and helped mend their wounds. The anonymity of those faces is one of the most powerful things I've seen. It reminds me that the power to change the world is with us and our networks of love. One of the inspirations for today's sermon is a children's book called Choosing Brave: How Mamie Till Mobley and Emmett Till Sparked the Civil Rights Movement. Now, most of us, I hope, are familiar with the name Emmett Till. I knew nothing about the backstory of that moment until I picked up this children's book. It's a story of courage and resistance, mostly about Emmett's mother, Mamie. Mamie Carthen was a child of the Great Migration up from Mississippi. As a child, her family settled near Chicago. She was glad to be out of the South. She studied hard and was the first African American to graduate top of her class in her high school. She began spending time with an amateur boxer named Lewis Till. Mamie and Lewis got married, and just shy of 19 years old, Mamie became pregnant with Emmett Lewis Till. It was a difficult birth. There was little hope that Emmett would ever walk or talk. Doctors suggested that he be put in an institution, but Mamie chose something different and brought him home. Emmett's dad, Lewis, was a boxer, a professional boxer through and through. You might say he brought his work home with him. Once he left for the army, Mamie changed the locks. Despite all the doctor's warnings, Emmett grew and he thrived. He worked hard to save some extra money. Still, as a child, though, Emmett contracted polio. He recovered physically, but he was left with a stutter. Mamie coached him through his speech challenges, and when he felt tied up, she told him to stop, slow down, take a breath, and whistle. Whistling calmed Emmett Till so that he could regather his words. One day, Emmett got an invitation from family to visit in Mississippi. Coming from the city, going to a space with wide open spaces and to be with a bunch of cousins was a strong pull for the young boy. At first, Mamie said no, but eventually she relented. He was a smart and good-mannered boy, and perhaps he would be safe. Just 8 days after he boarded the train for Mississippi, Mamie received the call. Fishermen had found his body in the Tallahatchie River, bruised, scarred, and swollen. The details of the murder are still unclear. What is certain is that it started with a whistle. To make things quick, the sheriff wanted to bury Emmett in Mississippi that same day. But Mamie said no. The land that killed him would not keep him, so she spent more than a year's wages of her money to bring his body back home. When the casket arrived in Chicago, it was locked in a box that had no key, accompanied by legal papers forbidding it ever be opened. Paper and locks often don't stop mothers. She would see her son, and so would the world. For 4 long days, she let other people come and bear witness to mourn her son. Over 10,000 people attended the funeral or viewing. Reporters came and documented the brutality against a 14-year-old boy. The image and the story published across the nation, I think we all know, ignited the civil rights movement. Back in Mississippi, Mamie attended the murder trial amidst jeers and threats. After 1 hour of deliberation, the all-white jury decided not guilty. With the NAACP, she began traveling and educating the nation. The courage of Mamie Till Mobley is jaw-dropping. She's one mom you probably didn't know much about. She's one mom who said no. Today's challenge is not the KKK or Jim Crow. Today, Donald Trump and the far-right white supremacists are using ICE to terrorize people of color. The rhetoric of law and order and protecting innocent Americans is a thin veneer for what is actually taking place. I don't have to tell you that, I don't think. I do want to remind us all that those same arguments and the state-sanctioned violence against people of color are a resounding echo of our own history. We do not need European examples of racialized violence. It is the history of our own country. That is why the history of our country is also woven through with communities of resistance. Some of you likely know, a month or so ago, 2 members of our congregation were resisting the machine of white supremacy here in Oklahoma City. As a consequence, they were harassed by the Oklahoma City police in some pretty scary ways. Marilee and Allie, in concert with the Rapid Response Network, were monitoring ICE activity here in the city. They followed a tip to a location where community members observed activity that looked concerning. Several unmarked American-made SUVs were parked together. There was also some activity by several men who were not dressed in uniforms. Marilee and Allie pulled up to the scene and parked behind these suspicious SUVs. Marilee got her phone out and began recording. To get a better look and to record some of these license plates, she stepped out of the vehicle and walked forward. Very quickly after that, Oklahoma City police arrived in multiple cars. I can't track the number of lies that they told. The biggest was that they told Marilee that she could not use her phone to record this public situation. Then the police said the operation underway was an undercover operation by federal agents. Well, federal agents is a very broad umbrella that actually includes ICE. To question them without arresting them, they held our 2 church members in separate police vehicles for around 30 minutes. As an intimidation tactic, the police told Marilee and Allie that their information had been collected as part of this ongoing investigation and that they would be entered into a criminal database. We've found that no laws were broken by the police, but they did everything within the law to intimidate. This is not happening far away. This is not happening to members of an international drug cartel. This is about 2 white ladies in a minivan in Oklahoma City who practiced very mild, very legal resistance to white supremacy. You will likely soon hear the news that this week a call went out for faith leaders to gather in Minneapolis. I will be heading there on Tuesday and coming home on Saturday. What exactly we will do is unclear. At the very least, we will be witnessing what is happening on the ground. Some of us may participate in nonviolent resistance or disruption. I want you to know why I am going. There are at least 5 reasons that I feel like I need to answer the call. One is that my job is not at risk, which is very different for a lot of people. Number 2, I am physically able. Number 3, I am financially able thanks to this particular job. Number 4, I don't have children or pets that need me on a daily basis. And number 5, the stole that I wear and the reverend and doctor in front of my name help draw attention to moral issues. I am going to Minneapolis because I can, and many others, most others, cannot. This all begs the question, what does your life position enable you to do? Perhaps you have money. Perhaps you have organizing skills. Perhaps you have mental health support skills to care for frontline workers. And I will tell you, immigration attorneys right now are emotionally destroyed. Perhaps you're teaching younger generations to love their neighbors, about birthright citizenship, the Constitution, and the separation of powers. Perhaps you have time to contact elected officials and express your concern. If you want to know what you can do to resist, the place to start is looking at what you have that maybe others do not. Today, after the service, Tim mentioned there will be cards and supplies in Daniel Hall for folks to send messages to support the churches in Minneapolis. And I need to say, in part, because my parents may be watching and I haven't talked to them yet, this is not my first rodeo. I am not new to direct action. I will be safe. I have no inclination to be a social justice hero. I'm showing up to be counted as one among hundreds and hopefully thousands of faith leaders bearing witness to the injustice in Minneapolis. A movement is a group of people changing the world, not a solo actor. Yes, leaders emerge here and there when the conditions are right, but leaders are not the ones who make history happen. The Underground Railroad was more than Harriet Tubman or a solitary brave choice of an enslaved individual. It was a network built on trust and sacrifice. Stonewall wasn't a single brave queer person who stood up to fight the police. It was a riot, a community that knew and loved each other through years of mutual support and trust building, who fought against oppression together. Liberation grows out of cooperation, not individualism. We are best able to carve out a loving place in the world by working hand in hand with others. Now, political liberation and spiritual liberation, while not exactly the same, are intertwined. That's why we are here, after all, in a sanctuary, gathering in worship. We are here to be in community with people choosing to hope. We Unitarian Universalists worship together to inspire and be inspired by one another. We seek liberation together. Universalism reminds us that we are bound together in this world, all of us. Your liberation and my liberation are tightly bound. We are on the journey together, so that your salvation is bound up in mine and mine in yours. It means that I need you and you need me. That's an incredibly vulnerable thing that we do not say often as adults. I need you and you need me. The Spirit of life stirs in our loving relationships. God's healing power emerges as we heal one another's wounds and hearts. We may not be able to immediately change the world like the great men, but together we find the courage and the faith to keep the movement of love pushing forward one more day. Amen. Our closing hymn today is number 149, Lift Every Voice and Sing. You may know this hymn as the Black National Anthem. Its words are unusual for our Unitarian Universalist setting. I would invite you to settle into that discomfort. Sometimes it is good and right to feel uncomfortable, so let us be uncomfortable together today. Lift Every Voice and Sing, number 149.
Lift every voice and sing, tune that heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let a rejoicing
And I'm going to invite you all to be seated. Go ahead.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
After the words, a quiet. After the songs, a silence. After the crowd, only the memory recalls the gathering. Peace and justice have need for us after the words, the music, and the gathering. God grant us the depth for dedication to justice. Grant us that we will be builders of peace. Friends, go in peace. Let the light within you be a blessing to the world.